Hello, I'm Tim Gordon with your weekly recap. We're going to be catching you up on some of the biggest stories of the week, like the newest information over Portland's latest push to address the homeless crisis. Plus, how local law enforcement in Multnomah County are teaming up to tackle widespread burglaries, and the long overdue changes that could be on the way to the Rose City's 5 performing arts centers. In our top story this week, we got a look at new data which shows just how many homeless camps have recently been removed from Portland streets. From July 1st of this year to September 30th, the city of Portland removed 1,953 campsites. More than 1,300 of those were blocking sidewalks. The city also says they set up 12 no camping signs on 3 blocks. About 3 years ago, a group of Portlanders sued the city over tents blocking ADA access on public sidewalks. The city settled, agreeing to remove at least 500 campsites a year and to pay special attention to the ones that block public right-of-ways. We spoke to the attorney behind that case.
It appears to me the reason why we still had 1,365 encampment removals on sidewalks this last quarter was because the nonprofits are passing out new tents and tarps, and they're using the money they are getting from the government to do that.
Now, he's referring to the nonprofits that get money from Multnomah County, which some use to pass out tents. He says that practice should stop, especially when taxpayer money is then used for camp removals. Meanwhile, a Multnomah County report released this week shows what appears to be big problems for the county's deflection center that opened just over a year ago. It's intended to give people who qualified a path toward treatment instead of jail. In its first year, authorities referred about 520 people, that's less than 2 a day. Only 113 of those completed deflection, meaning they used some sort of service like a shelter or sobering center. And while results have recently improved, county leaders say it's still nowhere near what they're pushing for.
I'm concerned that this model fundamentally doesn't really work.
2 people a day can't, for the millions of dollars we spent, we can't continue with that.
Now, the county spent more than $8 million to build and operate the facility over its first 11 months. County staff say the center was meant to be a front door to connect people to treatment, not to provide that treatment on site. In other headlines, there's a warrant out for a Portland woman accused of neglecting her 2 children after she failed to show up for court 2 days in a row. Well, last Friday, police performed a welfare check at the Southeast Portland apartment of 32-year-old Ruby Godina Volador. Officers described the living conditions as filthy and dangerous, with rotten food in the apartment and feces smeared on the walls. Police also say the woman's 11-year-old autistic son was sitting alone on a couch naked. They found the mom in another room and took her into custody. We spoke with a neighbor who lives downstairs.
That's very horrible. You know, I'm a father. My children they're grown, but that's horrible. I never went into her apartment. I didn't know her that well. Can't imagine that happening to a child. That's terrible.
Again, there's a warrant out for the mother. We've not been told where the children are right now. Body cam footage released to us this week is shedding some light on the night a naked man was running around a Northeast Portland neighborhood with a gun. And we want to let you know that Portland police did edit some of this video before they released it to us, but some viewers may still find the video difficult to watch. Alma McCarty walks us through it.
Available to start. We got a naked guy running around. One caller, or a couple callers said he had a gun that is not loaded in his hand.
On the night of November 5th, dispatchers fielded calls about a man without clothing running around with a handgun in the Lloyd district.
Have you guys seen a naked guy running around?
Portland police eventually spotted the man and heard a single gunshot.
Oh, he just shot.
It's looking like it is a gun.
I'm gonna hit him.
Okay. Copy, a shot is fired on emergency.
Run him over, dude.
Okay, if I go.
Shot fired.
I copy, shot fired on emergency out.
Guns out of his hand.
That action considered by the Bureau as a use of deadly force, though the suspect survived. As some officers searched for the gun,
We're looking for it outside the Denny's right now.
the suspect got up and took off.
All right, he's going to be running southbound on Grand, approaching the Motel 6.
Police in pursuit get out of their cars shouting commands. Initially following those instructions, video then shows the suspect getting up and going into the building.
Tase him! Tase him! Taser deployed! Taser deployed!
Officers cuff the man, who knocks his head into the ground.
Stop hitting your head.
I'm sorry. It's the man I submitted. Please, I cooperate.
I know you are. Stop. Relax and breathe. Help's here.
That man, later identified as 43-year-old Robert Hatley, admitted to taking meth. He was treated at the hospital, released, and booked into jail. Police found the gun in the front bumper of the police vehicle that hit him. Alma McCarty, KGW News.
Hatley's charges include unlawful use of a weapon and felon in possession of a firearm. The two officers involved are placed on administrative leave. Portland police are still investigating that incident. The law enforcement agencies in Multnomah County have teamed up to launch a new burglary task force. The team will meet regularly to coordinate on cases, share information, and investigative strategies. Police Chief Bob Day says Portland has seen 3,200 burglaries in the past year. PPB will provide 1 sergeant and 3 investigators to the force. The Multnomah County Sheriff's Office, Gresham PD, and the Port of Portland will also be providing resources such as detectives, investigators, data analysts, and prosecutors.
To the victims and the businesses, we're here to support you. To the criminals who would prey upon those businesses, I want you to know we're coming for you.
And District Attorney Nathan Vasquez and Chief Day called this approach the future of policing and aim to target rings that are responsible for a large amount of burglaries in the county. All 200 members of the Oregon National Guard will soon head home after being demobilized from their federal mission. That's according to Governor Tina Kotek. Oregon's governor made the announcement Wednesday afternoon after receiving verbal confirmation of the demobilization, although U.S. Northern Command says no such orders have been given. The troops were called up by the Trump administration in late September to help protect federal buildings, including the ICE facility in Portland, a focal point of protests. They never actually hit the streets because a federal judge ruled the president had overstepped his authority by deploying the National Guard over the governor's objections. The Oregon Military Department estimated the cost of this mission $16 million, paid for with federal tax dollars. Meanwhile, the legal fight is not over. The Trump administration is appealing a federal judge's order permanently blocking the deployment of National Guard troops to Oregon, but that appeal could drag on for months. The city of Hillsborough declared a state of emergency, joining several nearby cities in sounding the alarm over what they say is a surge in ICE activity in their neighborhoods. Community leaders and families are demanding answers, urging federal agents to stop targeting local residents and calling on the city to step in. Libby Dowsett has more.
I would not wish this on anybody.
Edziri Cruz says her father Victor may be home after 24 days in ICE detention, but her parents are still living in fear.
Any knock they hear, they think they're in danger. Not to mention the PTSD that my dad is dealing with, having to relive that trauma every time that he retells it.
Cruz says they don't go out since ICE still has Victor's driver's license and work permit. He no longer has an ankle monitor, but he's been told ICE is still pursuing his deportation.
I mean, they still have to pay their mortgage, their bills. Both of my parents are not working. They rely on their neighbors.
Cruz says she and her parents are relieved to see the Hillsborough City Council moving forward with an emergency declaration passed Tuesday night, which condemns immigration and customs enforcement for targeting students and families.
We understand as a city council and as a city what's going on, that we have essentially a terrorist group operating in our city.
Mayor says this resolution will better define private areas that ICE cannot access without a judicial warrant. The Trump administration says the ICE crackdown is targeting criminals to help protect the community. But Cruz says it only hurts local families.
It completely stopped our world. It felt, for lack of better words, it felt like we were grieving.
Libby Dowsett, KGW News.
Well, the holiday season always sees a spike in scams as people are online shopping or feeling particularly generous. As a precaution, Forest Grove Police and J.P. Morgan Chase held a workshop Thursday to talk scam prevention with local seniors. Some of the biggest highlights: always be suspicious of any sort of call or message that requires urgency. Give unknown callers or messengers extra pause. Be wary of things that sound too good to be true, and do not give out your personal or financial information until you've confirmed it is coming from a trusted source. The FBI says scammers defrauded Americans out of nearly $1 billion last year. The Forest Grove Police Department says the holidays can be particularly susceptible time to fall for scams.
A lot of fraud when it comes to online sales. People are clicking on discounts for 85% off on Walmart. That's not happening. But people will fall for phishing scams very frequently. We do see charity scams as well. People are a little bit more generous during the holidays, and scammers will take advantage of that.
So if you are scammed, Queensland says to call your local non-emergency police number and file a report, and contact your bank right away. Well, Portland now has a ban on some software that some leaders insist was driving up rents. City councilors voted this week to approve a new ordinance, one that prohibits property owners from using algorithms to set rent prices. Those programs collect data from other landlords in order to suggest pricing. Supporters say that threatens fair competition and artificially inflates rent. But opponents, like City Councilor Dan Ryan, argued this is not the way to fix the housing crisis.
And we can't do rent control at the city level, but this is a small step that we can take to keep people in their homes.
I cannot support creating legislation without proof of a problem that needs solving. We need laser focus to improve our city's services and address Portland's most pressing issues.
Oregon also has just reached a $7 million settlement with landlord giant Greystar, which was accused of using these types of tools to collude and raise rents. Well, big changes could be coming to the Rose City's 5 performing arts centers. On Thursday, Metro Council voted on a plan that would put the city of Portland in charge of the operations of those facilities. John Adams heard from both sides, who agreed it was time to make this change.
Portland's 5 performing arts centers, which host symphonies, ballets, and theater performances, are owned by the city of Portland, but have been operated by Metro since the 1980s.
That model hasn't worked great for a lot of reasons, for a lot of opportunities to invest and upkeep the buildings.
Portland Zone 1 Councilor Jamie Dunphy says now is the time for the city to take back operations of these facilities.
We need to update the maintenance. We need to activate these buildings at their full capacity the way that other cities do.
The P5s, as they're known, include the Keller Auditorium, the Arlene Schnitzer Concert Hall, and the 3 theaters inside the Antoinette Hatfield Hall. They employ about 500 people.
We've really struggled maintaining these buildings. They're very old. Keller's 1916, the Schnitz is 1926, and they need a lot of capital improvements.
The executive director of the facilities tells us Metro hasn't been able to generate enough money from operations for these improvements, as attendance and interest has yet to recover from the COVID pandemic.
And I really believe this is a step in the right direction, that moving this back over to the city will actually bring more security and stability to these venues.
Dunphy says despite budget concerns this year, the city of Portland is positioning itself to better maintain its assets, including these performing arts venues.
We don't have an option. We're not going to sell these buildings off. We're not going to demo them. So we have to maintain them. We have to fix them up, and we have to put them to full use in the service of the broader city.
John Adams, KGW News.
Local officials in southern Oregon say salmon are showing up in areas where they are not likely to spawn after 4 Klamath River dams came down last year. That opened up hundreds of miles of salmon spawning habitat that had been cut off for more than a decade. Now, a recent video shows salmon swimming in an irrigation canal which spans a large area of farmland.
You know, my district, the concern is we don't want the fish going where the fish shouldn't be going. You know, we don't want to see fish flopping around out in the fields. That's not a good thing. I mean, we actually have fish in our canal right now. I was down there this morning looking at them, and it's a cool thing, but it's also it causes a bit of anxiety as well and frustration.
The agency is working with the Klamath Drainage District on a $4.5 million fish screen project in the 80 Canal. The first screen is planned for next year if the funding's approved. Well, Oregon's Department of Fish and Wildlife is helping investigate how a whale became stranded on a beach near Yachats. ODFW says the young humpback was tangled up in commercial crabbing gear, so they'll be focusing on interviewing gear owners. The whale was euthanized Monday after a couple of days of rescue efforts. Officials add the West Coast whale population is actually growing by about 8% each year, which is leading to more entanglements. Next year, the Fish and Wildlife Commission is expected to look at new rules for the crabbing industry to try and reduce the risk of those encounters. Well, check this out. You can now step foot in the newly renovated Portland Art Museum, a project years in the making. This is good news. Thursday, museum leaders snipped the ribbon on the new Mark Rothko Pavilion. The project cost roughly $116 million and was funded almost entirely by private donors. Museum leaders call it a significant investment in the arts. The new pavilion connects both historic buildings owned by the museum, creating a new main entrance. The expansion adds nearly 100,000 square feet, creating new gallery space.
And it's so much more intuitive and easy to find all the beautiful art and the galleries. We've reinstalled all of the art, so it's a brand new experience. Even if you were here prior, you're going to experience the art and the galleries in a whole new way. And it's just welcoming and inviting and really more accessible for everybody in the community.
To celebrate the opening, entry to the museum is free until Sunday. That's great. Now here's your weather.
It is Friday in Portland as well. Newsflash, so we're all enjoying the fact that it's Friday. We're starting off with chilly temps in the 30s. We've had a mixed bag of fog, and what's been mixed is the same location has been really foggy and then some sun and then really foggy. So it's interesting to watch these fog banks kind of migrate around the area. We're also throwing in a little bit of what I call spillage. This is the flow pattern aloft, throwing some thin mid to high level clouds over our skies. So kind of a partly cloudy mix. That actually led to some beautiful, beautiful sunrises this morning in areas that didn't have the fog covering up the cameras, if you will. We are dry today completely. This is 2 o'clock this afternoon. We're watching, up here around Astoria. Maybe it gets caught in cloudiness there more than, say, that most of us do. Tomorrow's a repeat of this morning. Chilly, 30s, fog, and then we get some sun, all dry on Saturday as well. And then here she comes, our next round of rain. Doesn't look overly impressive. This particular model has raindrops in Portland before 6 o'clock. There are other models that say, well, not so fast, that we could be dry until like mid-morning. So we'll see. But this does show a solid shot of rain coming through. And then it doesn't really show anything else later in the day. Now, the way we look at things as forecasters, I'm going to make the assumption there will be scattered showers Sunday afternoon, Sunday night, and Monday down here. But this doesn't show much. Rain totals over the 2 days, mostly the raindrops that will fall on Sunday. And if you just look at the range at the coast and the valley, it's pretty much identical. About 1/4 of an inch to less than 1/2 of an inch of rain. About 1/2 of an inch of moisture up in the Cascades, and then some lighter amounts out across the east. Of course, this weekend does kick off the holiday travel season, so let's look at snow levels. Of course, not a concern today because it's dry, not a concern Saturday because it's dry. When that first wave of moisture hits Mount Hood, specifically Sunday morning, it'll be rain over the passes with a snow level at about 5,500 feet. And then 4,000 feet is our Mount Hood Government Camp Highway 26 pass. And that's where we'll be later in the day, Sunday going into Sunday night. And then maybe as low as 2,500 feet Monday. So if you just look at that, you're like, uh-oh, could be some travel issues. But it's unclear as to whether or not we will have enough moisture in scattered snow bands, if you will, or showers, to produce significant issues for traveling. But obviously it's that time of the year you will want to check conditions, specifically Sunday night into Monday morning if you're going to be traveling. Our live cameras, they're really gorgeous up above the fog. That's Mount Hood and all of her glory. It's been a beautiful morning at the coast. Some folks out walking, a lot of seagulls on the beach right there too from Schnookwas Casino Resort in Lincoln City. This is from wine country looking at Mount Hood. How pretty is that? That shows the low fog and the partly cloudy skies up top from our Chehalem tasting room camera. Portland's been a mixed bag, but we've had sun back and forth, and we expect to get up to about 51 in the Rose City today. 50 over in Bend today too with some sunshine. Here's Portland's 7-day. So 51 today, repeat day tomorrow, 52. The rain showers on Sunday, and then a scattered shower threat with sun breaks on Monday. Right now, if you go to the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, could be a really rainy day down here, but early snow levels a look at them look to be 6,000 feet. That would be just heavy rain over the passes and then some scattered showers and sun. 54 would be pretty mild on Thanksgiving Thursday.
I'm Christine Pitawanich. It's getting dark a little earlier these days, but hopefully that doesn't discourage you from getting out and about, because we've got a look at some local events happening this weekend, and they're pretty fun. Let's start things off with the Portland Holiday Flea Market. If you missed the holiday market at the Expo Center last weekend, well, you might want to stop by this one. It'll feature over 30 local vendors selling everything from vintage clothing to handcrafted goods. It's happening at The Red on Salmon Street both Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 4. It's free to attend and perfect for getting some of your Christmas shopping done. Or if you're a big fan of food, how about the Portland Cheese and Meat Festival? It's happening this Saturday from noon to 8 p.m. at the Left Bank Annex. You'll be able to experience some of the greatest charcuterie that Portland has to offer. There are multiple tastings throughout the day from places like Features and Ferndale Farmstead. Tickets will run you about $75 a person. You can find more details on the festival's website. And for those of you looking for a performance, this Saturday, the Grand Kiev Ballet will bring a performance of Swan Lake to the Newmark Theater. Some of the best dancers from around the world will bring to life the timeless tale of love and magic. Tickets range from $37 to $132, depending on how close you want to sit. You can find out the details on the Newmark Theater's page on the Portland 5 website. For more weekend inspiration, you can check out the 8 Things to Do article up each week at KGW.com.
And thanks to Christine for that. And that is a wrap on our weekly recap. I'm Tim Gordon. Thanks for watching. And a reminder, you can catch up on the latest headlines anytime on KGW.com, your KGW app, or our YouTube channel.